The Platteville Jane Doe, 1973. Identified as Roxanne Leadbeater. This case begins on Monday, November 19th, 1973. Along the banks of the St. Vrain River, which is located north of Highway 66, about 4 miles west of Platteville, Colorado. Very little could be determined. Even her clothing would be of no real help. She had a red short-sleeved sweater and brown pants. She was average height and probably in her pre-30s. She would quietly be interred in the Lynn Grove County Cemetery in Greeley, Colorado. Thankfully, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation would work to find her identity, and she would be exhumed in April of 2022. They would submit her DNA for genetic genealogy. A recreation would be developed and released. The search for her name wasn't easy, but by early 2024, they would have some genetic clues. And this led to them asking multiple people to provide DNA kits, and those kits would pay off in December of 2024 with confirmation of a name. Her DNA led to first cousins, but they didn't really know Roxanne. Although they were first cousins, Roxanne lived in a different state and didn't see them. But they did know enough to say that they remembered hearing another relative mention that she went missing in 1972. Sadly, this is as much as we can know, as Roxanne's brother and parents passed in the years since she went missing. So I kept digging, and the best I could do is find that Roxanne was born in 1957, joining an older brother named Bryant John Leadbeater, who had been born in 1951 in Vermont. At some point, they would move across the U.S., settling in California. Roxanne was likely a freshman when she disappeared from Los Angeles in 1972. But there was more loss in store for the two parents. Their remaining child, Bryant Leadbeater, reportedly lunged at a police officer in a mall parking lot, and the 3 officers would fire 24 times. It appears Bryant did have a knife, but the main officer would lose his job, and an investigation would conclude it was unnecessary to use that amount of force. The case was made against him due to an allegation that he stole from the mall. I don't know if Joan Leadbeater won the lawsuit against the LA police. If Roxanne was reported missing, the report has been lost or misplaced over time, like so many before her. While Roxanne thankfully has her name again, there's just little known about her disappearance. Roxanne Leadbeater was a missing person for 52 years and an unidentified Jane Doe for 51. Had she been allowed to live the life she deserved, Roxanne would be 67 years old today. The Kane County John Doe, identified as James Howard Conklin. We begin in this case on February 6, 1994. It was then that hikers were out in Kane County, Utah. This was located near State Road 89. They were climbing around some rocks in what is described as a rugged area, and it was here that they would find a human skull lodged in a crevice. The authorities would follow the hikers back to search for more remains. Kane County, Utah is a sparsely populated county. Currently, the population is 7,000 people, but when this happened, there were 5,000, at least for the 1990 census. Experts from this area would examine his remains, determining he was between 30 and 55, around 6 foot or 182 centimeters. It's believed that coyotes carried his skull to where they would eventually find it, and they were unable to match him to any missing person report. He would officially become the Kane County John Doe. They did note that the man did not pass naturally. His COD was likely due to what I'll just say was blunt force T. It was noted that he had big bones, and he was likely a big guy. They believe he had likely passed a few years prior. He had been wearing a plaid jacket with a liner and Levi's 501 jeans. His sunglasses were shattered, perhaps when his life was taken. And they did the best they could do with the recreation. But then time would pass decades after decades without any real leads. The only links to the man's identity were 3 crumpled papers found in the pocket of his recovered pants. He had a printout listing local events in the Flagstaff, Arizona area. Additionally, there was a booking sheet from 1988 in his pocket. And this is for Coconino County in Arizona. This is roughly 45 miles or 72 kilometers from where he was found. But the booking sheet was from 1988. And while it helps with the timeline of events, The years weren't kind to it, and all of the writing on it that was done in ink would be erased by the elements. So his name and the details of his charge were missing. They did what they could, but even the FBI lab couldn't recover the ink. Thankfully, though, Othram Labs worked their magic once again. Using genetic genealogy, they would trace his family, and they would eventually approach what they believed to be a close family member. And this member would give his DNA, and it would prove they had in fact found James Howard Conklin. What we know now is James Conklin went missing in 1988, and at this time he was just 38 years old. However, he was part of the homeless population at that time, and he had actually gone missing from Flagstaff, Arizona. Flagstaff is 217 miles, or 350 kilometers from Kane County. James was a missing man for 36 years, and an unidentified John Doe for 30. Had James lived, he would be 74 years old today. I'm trying something a little different, and I'd love your opinion. The following are 3 John Does from Chicago, none of which have enough information to run them on their own. Let me know in the comments if you'd be interested in me doing this occasionally. And in the order of when they were first found, we have the Chicago John Doe, July 2000. They believe our John Doe was of Asian heritage, likely in his late teens to mid-20s. This would mean his family is missing a loved one born 1975 to 1985. He had 2 tattoos on his body. One is a scorpion on his left shoulder, and another of a cross on his right. He wasn't very tall, only around 5'2" or 158 centimeters. His peers would be likely 40 to 50 years old today. I don't show postmortem photos here, but there is one on his NamUs website, if anyone wants to view it. If you think you may know who he was, please call the number at the end. John Doe, July 2000, has gone unidentified for 24 years. The Chicago John Doe, September 2000. Our John Doe in this case was found 2 months after the prior Doe. He was found lying on a bank of the Chicago River in Chicago, Illinois. They haven't disclosed what his COD is, but they did determine he was 25 to 45. And this was, of course, in 2000. So that means his family is looking for a brother, son, cousin that was born from 1955 to 1975. His peers today would be 49 to 69 years old. He had a red t-shirt that said Awana Club on the front. For those unfamiliar, this is a club that exists all over the U.S. Churches partner with nonprofits to evangelize kids. I know when I was a child, we had it here in Montana. Our John Doe had brown hair, a mustache, and a beard. He had a scar on his right elbow, and he was wearing Dockers. Additionally, they found a small white metal crucifix in his pocket. Another notable distinction is that he was pretty short in stature, maybe 5'4" to 137 centimeters, and 130 to 59 kilograms. His case also has a postmortem available on NamUs. The Chicago John Doe has gone unidentified for 24 years. The Chicago John Doe, April 2012. The Chicago John Doe, shown here, was found in April 2012. This was after they put out a fire that had taken place in an abandoned building in Chicago. He was likely 40 to 70, but he wasn't a very tall guy, maybe 5'3" or 160 centimeters, and he weighed around 140 or 64 kilograms. All they were really able to tell is that he had suffered traumatic injuries. If he was 40 to 70 in 2012, that would mean the family who was missing him is looking for a man born from 1942 to 1972. The sketch shown here is an approximation of what he might have looked like based on his skull. If anyone knows who he was or any of the other John Does were, please contact the website listed or the text code listed on the screen. You can remain anonymous. This Chicago John Doe has gone unidentified for 13 years. Huge thanks for watching all the way to the end, and a big thanks to all of you who consistently like and comment on the videos. The whole dance with YouTube is hard sometimes. Whether you leave a full comment or an emoji, it makes a huge difference. It's a huge push toward the videos being suggested to new people. The next goal is 20,000. Thanks everyone for watching. Take care of yourselves and each other.